gentlemen, good evening and welcome to our production of Charles Dickens's marvellously titled play, Is She His Wife? Or Something Singular? My name is Jo Robinson. I'm the producer of this production, and so I wanted to begin tonight's entertainment by just saying a few words about how we came to stage this production in the first place. The project began, of all places, in California. In the summer of 2013, our director, Emma Whipday, and myself were lucky enough to be granted research fellowships at the Huntington Library in LA. It was here that we first met, and we were destined to be a match made in theatrical heaven. At the time, Emma was researching her PhD in Shakespeare and domestic tragedy, and restaging a little-known play, The Tragedy of Thomas Merry. Emma was interested in recreating the performance techniques that would have been used on the early modern stage, and so was using cue scripts. This is where each actor is given only their lines to learn, plus the last few words of other characters' dialogues that show them where they have to enter or speak. This was a huge challenge for the actors involved, who had not read or heard the full play until they began to rehearse together. At the time when plays were copied out by hand, cue scripts were used to save time and expense. Cue scripts were still being used by the time that Is She His Wife appeared on stage at the St. James's Theatre in 1837. So, in restaging Dickens's play, our director has brought her existing interest in performance techniques forward into the 19th century. In addition to using cue scripts, we have tried to stick to the original stage directions as closely as possible while we've been rehearsing this play. And, as in 19th century productions, Emma will be prompting from the side just in case any of our actors miss their cue. However, I'm sure that this won't be needed, and I'd like to take this opportunity to say a massive thank you to our actors who have each volunteered their time and skills. So Camilla, Kate, James, Andy, and Oskar, thank you all very, very much. At the time that Emma and I met in California, I was researching a chapter of my PhD thesis to do with 19th century theatre sets. I work on Dickens and London, and so I was looking into how London is represented on stage in adaptations of Oliver Twist. Naturally, I ended up reading the plays that Dickens himself had written, but I was struck by how un-Dickensian they seemed. When you read Dickens's plays, they come across as rather flat, and they're not actually very funny. But inspired by Emma's practice-led research techniques, I became interested in whether Dickens's plays might actually be very different if they were performed rather than just read on the page. We decided to combine Emma's interest in performance techniques with my interest in theatrical sets. And as you can see, our production tonight will be using stage flats, a backcloth, wing lights and footlights, all of which were common on the 19th century stage, albeit on a larger and grander scale. And also the house lights will be left on as they would have been in the 19th century theatre. We'll have to judge from your laughter tonight whether Dickens's plays do work as performances in a way that they don't on the page. We would also appreciate it if you could take a moment to jot down your thoughts on the questionnaires that you will find on your seats. And we'll give you a glass of wine at the end as an incentive for doing so. So if you wouldn't mind passing them back to one of the production team afterwards, that would be lovely. And as many of you know, at the time when Is She His Wife was first performed, only 2 theatres in London were patented, Covent Garden and Drury Lane. This meant that only these 2 theatres could perform tragedies and comedies, otherwise legitimate drama. To appease the censors, other productions had to display their difference to these genres by including musical interludes or songs. This affected Dickens's plays for the St. James's Theatre, and so the original manuscript includes 2 songs which were written by Dickens. Well, the words were. We have been lucky enough to enlist the help of Oskar Jensen with our project. Oskar is a music historian at King's College London. Although only the lyrics to the songs that Dickens wrote survive, and not the melodies, Oskar has been able to compose a new tune to one of them to fit the lyrics, based on his expertise in 19th century song. and fit the other song to a melody of an existing 18th century piece of music. Last but by no means least was our fantastic manager, Nicola Kirkby, who has been instrumental in making our events run smoothly. In addition to introducing this project, I'd also like to take this opportunity to say a thank you to the British Association of Victorian Studies and to King's College London for making this play possible by funding it. But thanks are also due to my family, Viv and Kira Robinson and Chris Whiter, for all their help in building and, which has been a lot worse, transporting our scenery. So there you have it. I do hope you will enjoy our historically informed production, and after the show, the production team will get up if you have any questions that you'd like to ask any of us. But now, please allow me to introduce Professor Michael Slater, MBE, who has kindly agreed to give us the benefit of his expertise in a brief introduction about Dickens and the theatre. Although it is a cliché to say that Michael really needs no introduction, this does not make it any less true. Michael has a long and distinguished career as a Dickens scholar and has published many books about the inimitable boss. These include Michael's recent biography of Dickens, which I am sure I'm not alone in relying on frequently. Michael has also acted in a Dickens play himself, and hopefully tonight may inspire him to revive his performance in The Strange Gentleman. So please, will you join me in welcoming Professor Michael Slater?
Well, I'd just like to say a few words by way of introducing this play, which I'm really thrilled to be able to see. I've only seen it done once before, and never with what seems to be the tremendous loving attention to period detail and so on that we're going to have tonight. Take it back to 1836, which was Dickens's great breakthrough year. He was 24 years old. He'd been working as a reporter on the Morning Chronicle, but now he was being so successful with his sketches by Boz, which were published in the Morning Chronicle and other papers, had been very popular, now being collected in volume form, illustrated by the very famous and important artist George Cruikshank. He'd been invited by Chapman and Hall to on the Pickwick project, which became, of course, one of the Pickwick papers. He was busy writing an opera, The Village Coquettes, which perhaps you might do next sometime. The songs for that do survive. And he was writing that with his friend John Huller, who was a young composer, for production at the St James's Theatre. And the St James's Theatre, under the management of the famous tenor Braham, John Braham, was particularly famous for its farces. Its leading actor at the time was the 50-year-old John Pritt Harley, for whom Is She His Wife and the other play, The Strange Gentleman, were both written. Harley became a personal friend of Dickens and Catherine. He often dined at Doughty Street. There are many very amusing letters exchanged between them. But it was a great sort of blossoming year for Dickens. He, as I say, he was writing an opera, Pickwick, more sketches by Boz, a new series he started in the Morning Chronicle, and his opera, The Village Coquettes, actually opened on the 6th of December, very successfully at the St James's Theatre. He, of course, also that year married the boss's daughter, as it were. He married Catherine Hogarth, who was the daughter of the editor of the Evening Chronicle, for which Dickens had been writing his or many of his sketches. So it was a great year, and he was also wrote, of course, the play that has been mentioned, the full-length farcical comedy, The Strange Gentleman, which was based on one of his own sketches by Boz, the Great Limbury Duel. That was written specifically for Harley. The main part was written especially for Harley, who was the leading actor at the St James's, and probably London's favourite comic actor at that point. He was very, very celebrated, particularly for his what was called airy, chattering, mercurial performances. Some critics didn't like it because he made all characters, including his Shakespearean roles, Bottom or Touchstone or whatever, he turned them into versions of Harley. It was rather the sort of same performance that you've got, whatever he was playing in. The Strange Gentleman was written especially for him, opened on the 29th of September 1836, and was a huge success. So not surprisingly, Harley then asked Dickens if he could write another play for him, a short farce. And Dickens, who had his hands full with Pickwick, with the Village Coquettes, with sketches by Boz, he couldn't write another full-length farce like The Strange Gentleman. He was now also, of course, writing Oliver Twist. He'd become editor of Bentley's and Seleny. This was all part of Dickens going up like a rocket. So not only was he writing Pickwick, he was now writing Oliver Twist. And so he really had no time to write another full-length play, even for Harley. But he said that he had by him a little piece in one act called Cross Purposes, written long before I was Boz, he said, but he could pull it out of a bottom drawer, and he thought he could do something with it. And what he did with it is the result that we'll see tonight, Is She His Wife, or Something Singular. Plays always had alternative titles in the 19th century. He said to Harley it would admit of the introduction of any music, because, as you just said, I mean, this is very important, that they couldn't do a straight play, because the Lord Chamberlain would be down on them if they did that. It had to be what was called a Burletta, that is to say, a play with songs introduced, with music introduced. And Dickens wrote 2 songs, busy as he was, one duet and one song for the part that Harley was going to play, Felix Tapkins, which made it into a Burletta. It was, as I said, something he'd written a long time before, but in around December, January, he and Catherine went back to their honeymoon cottage, where they, several months before, had gone and had their honeymoon at Chalk in Kent. And it's perhaps important to underline that they were not on their honeymoon. They had been married nearly a year, because some biographers like to say, oh my goodness, you know, this reflects the fact. I mean, what goes on in this play shows that they were already fed up with each other, you know, even a few months into marriage, but that's absolutely not true. Everything was going very well with them then. The first night was the 6th of March, 1837, and the little farce was very well received. Of course, Harley was hugely admired, as he always was, in the main part of Felix Tapkins. It wasn't as well received as The Strange Gentleman, and there was some anxiety about it. The Times, in its review, said it's one of the cleverest farces produced for some time, but the plot borders on the dangerous. Because, but it was so dexterously and delicately managed that its success was decided. We've rarely seen Harley to such advantage. Bordering on the dangerous, you see, it deals with bigamy, seduction, adultery. These were not themes that you'd likely put on stage in the 1830s, no matter how many jolly songs you had. I hope this gives you some sort of background to the play. It was what we would now call a star vehicle. It was conceived of as a star vehicle, written to order for the star, but I think has some wonderfully funny phrases and lines in it. retire to the conservatory with that demon in a frock coat. Is pretty good, I think. It could well be in Pickwick Papers, a line like that. So I think you're going to enjoy it a lot. I just thought I should advise you that it does have this dangerous matter in it, and I hope that you won't be too shocked by all these jokes about bigamy and adultery and so on. One last thing that I would say about it, because it does, Is She His Wife tends to come up in Dickens' biographies in connection with the death of the very sudden death of his beloved sister-in-law, Mary Hogarth, who died at the age of 17, suddenly, hours after she and Dickens and Catherine had been to see, not the first performance of Is She His Wife, but it had been running for 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. They went to see it as a family party, that same night they returned to Doughty Street, and Mary was suddenly taken tremendously ill and lived on for a few hours, but died at 3 o'clock in the morning in Dickens's arms. And he literally, as many of you know, I suppose, he never got over it. Some biographers like to say, you see, she, watching this play, she realised that things weren't well between him and Catherine, and this gave her a heart attack. So, and there's really no truth whatever in that. I mean, she'd seen the play and survived several times before, but it's the kind of thing that gets into Dickens' biography. There must be some sort of drama, and because Dickens' marriage ended badly in 1859, somehow or other, his young sister-in-law already knows within a year that everything's wrong, and the best thing she can do is to die to get out of the difficult situation. So there's really no truth in that. But you will find that Is She His Wife tends to come up in Dickens' biography just in connection with that. But it is, I think, a wonderfully funny farce in its own right, and I'm delighted we're all going to have the opportunity to see it this evening.
A married life is not all joy, but noise and strife, its charms alloy, its charms alloy. Though to please we do our best, misery our life infest, naught is right we can do,
but all is wrong,
and all is wrong.
Sometimes darling,
Sometimes darling,
oft times snarling,
oft times snarling, now then pleasing,
now then pleasing,
then the teasing.
then there's teasing.
Naught but care and naught but strife. Oh, who would sigh for a married life, for a married life, for a married life. Another cup of tea, dear. Oh, Lord.
you would endeavour to assume a more cheerful appearance in your wife's society. If you are perpetually yawning and complaining of ennui a few months after marriage, what might you suppose will become in a few years? It really is very odd of you.
No, not at all odd, my dear. Not the least in the world. Be a great deal more odd if I were not. The fact is, my love, I'm tired of the country. Green fields and blooming hedges and feathered songsters are fine things to talk about and read about and write about, but I candidly confess that I prefer paved streets, area railings, and dustman's bells after all.
How often have you said that, blessed with my love, you could live contented and happy in the desert?
Artful impostor.
Have you not said over and over again that fortunes and personal attractions were secondary considerations with you? That you love me for those virtues which, while they gave additional lustre to public life, would adorn and sweeten retirement?
Soothing syrup.
You complain of the tedious sameness of a country life. Was it not you yourself who first proposed our residing permanently in the country? Did you not say that it would provide me ample sphere to exercise those charitable feelings which I have so often evinced by selling at those benevolent fancy fairs?
Humane man-traps.
He pays no attention to me. Alfred, dear,
Yes, my life.
have you heard what I have just been saying, dear?
Yes, love.
And what have you to say in reply?
Well, really, my dear, you've said it so often before in the course of the last 6 months that I think it quite unnecessary to say anything more about it. The learned judge delivered a brief but impressive summary of the unhappy man's trial.
I could bear anything but this neglect. He evidently does not care for me.
I could put up with anything but these constant altercations and little petty quarrels. I repeat, my dear, that I'm very dull in this out-of-the-way villa. Confoundedly dull. Horribly dull.
And I repeat that if you felt for your wife as you once professed to feel, you would have no need to make such a complaint.
If I did not know you to be one of the sweetest creatures in existence, my dear, I should be strongly disposed to say that you're a very close imitation of an aggravating female.
Oh, that's very curious, my dear, for if I did not know you to be such a sweet, exquisite, good-tempered, good-natured husband, I should have mistaken you for a very great brute.
My dear, you're offensive.
My love, you're intolerable.
The wife around her husband throws her arms to make him stay. My dear, it rains, it hails, it blows. My dear, it rains, it hails, it blows. You cannot hunt today, you cannot hunt today. But an hunting we will go, a hunting we will go. Oh, an hunting we will go.
There's that dear good-natured creature, Mr. Tapkins. Do you ever hear him complain of the tediousness of a country life? Light-hearted creature. His lively disposition and rich flow of spirits are wonderful even to me.
No, it need not be a matter of astonishment to anybody, my dear. He's a bachelor.
How are you both? Here's a morning. Bless my heart alive, what a morning. I've been gardening ever since 5 o'clock, and the flowers have been actually growing before my very eyes. The London pride is sweeping everything before it, and the stalks are half as high again as they were yesterday. They're all gone up like so many tailor's bills, ever since that heavy dew of last night knocked down half of my rosebuds with the weight of its own moisture. Something like a dew that's a regular dew, eh? Come, that's not so bad for a before dinner one.
Ah, Felix, you happy dog.
Happy? Oh, of course I am. Felix by name and Felix by nature. What the deuce should I be unhappy for? Or anybody be unhappy for? What's the use of it, that's the point.
Have you finished your improvements, Mr. Tapkins?
And a rustic lodge. Bless your heart and soul, you never saw such a place. Cardboard chimneys, Grecian balconies, Gothic parapets, thatched roofs.
Indeed.
Ah, bless you, yes. Green veranda with ivy twining around the pillars.
How rural.
Rural, my dear Mrs. Lovetown. Delightful. The French windows do such an improvement.
I should think they were.
I should think they were. Why, on a fine summer's evening, the frogs hop off the grass plot into the very sitting room.
Dear me!
Oh, bless you, yes. Something like the country. Quite a little heathen. Why, when I'm smoking on the veranda after a shower of rain, the black beetles fall into my brandy and water.
No!
Yes, and I takes them out again with a teaspoon and lays bets against myself. Which of them will run away the quickest? Then the stables too. Why, at Rustic Lodge, these stables are close to the dining room window.
No!
Yes, the horse can't cough, but I hears him.
Oh.
There's compactness for you. Nothing like the cottage style of architecture for comfort, my boy. By the by, I have left the new horse at your garden gate this moment.
The new horse?
The new horse. Splendid fellow, such actions. Puts out its feet like a rocking horse, and carries its tail like an ant egg. Come and see him.
Oh, I can't deny you anything.
No, that's what they all say, especially the...
Oh, I'm afraid you're a very bad man, Mr. Tapkins. I'm afraid you're a shocking man, Mr. Tapkins.
Think so? I don't know. Not worse than other fellows similarly situated. Bachelors, my dear Mrs. Lovetown, bachelors. Hey, old fellow.
Ah, certainly.
We know, eh? By the by, talking of bachelors puts me in mind of a rustic lodge. And talking of a rustic lodge puts me in mind of what I came here for. You must come and see me this afternoon. Little Peter Limbury and his wife are coming.
Oh, I detest that man.
The wife is supportable, my dear.
To be sure, so she is. Oh. You'll come, and that's enough. Now, come and see the horse.
Oh, give me 3 minutes to put on my coat and boots, and I'll join you. I won't be 3 minutes.
Now, look sharp, look sharp. Mrs. Lovetown, will you excuse me 1 moment? Jim! These fellows never know how to manage horses. Walk him gently up and down. Throw the stirrups over the saddle to show the people his master's coming. And if anyone asks what that fine animal's pedigree is and who he belongs to, say he's the property of Mr. Felix Tapkins of Rustic Lodge near Reading, and that he's the celebrated horse who ought to have won the Newmarket Cup last year, only he didn't.
My mind is made up. I can bear Alfred's coldness and insensibility no longer. And come what may, I will endeavour to remove it. From my knowledge of his disposition, I am convinced that the only mode of doing so will be by rousing his jealousy and wounding his vanity. This thoughtless creature will be a very good instrument for my scheme. He plumes himself on his gallantry, has no very small share of vanity, and is easily led. I see him crossing the garden.
My dear, it rains, it hails, it blows.
Oh! Would that I had never beheld him!
Hello. She's talking about her husband. I knew by their manner there'd been a quarrel when I came in this morning.
Oh, so fascinating and yet so insensible to the tenderest of passions, as not to see how devotedly I love him!
I thought so.
That he should remain unmarried is to me extraordinary. He ought to have married long since.
Hey, quite, they are married. Ought to have married long since. I rather think he ought.
And though I am the wife of another,
Wife of another?
still I am grieved to say that I cannot be blind to his extraordinary merit.
Hey, why, he's run off with somebody else's wife. Oh, the villain. I must lay an eye on the room, or there's no telling what I shall hear next.
Oh, Mr. Tapkins. No, bring your chair nearer, Mr. Tapkins. I'm afraid I have been unconsciously giving utterance just now to the passings of my mind. I trust that you have not overheard the confessions of the weakness of my heart.
No, not more than a word or two.
Your agitated manner convinces me that you overheard more than you are willing to express. And so why should I conceal from you that though I esteem my husband, I love another?
I heard you mention that little circumstance.
Oh!
What the deuce is she owing at me for? She looks at me as if I were Lovetown himself.
Does my choice meet with your approbation?
It doesn't.
No?
Decidedly not. I'll cut that Lovetown out, and not for myself. Mrs. Lovetown,
Yes, Mr. Tapkins.
I know a individual.
Ah, an individual.
A individual, I may perhaps venture to say, a estimable individual, who has been these last 3 months constantly in your society, who never yet had courage to disclose his passion, but who burns to throw himself at your feet. Oh! I'll try and know what to do now. Oh! That's a cat bit alone.
He must have misunderstood me before, for he is evidently speaking of himself. Is the gentleman you speak of handsome, Mr. Tapkins?
He is generally considered remarkably so.
Is he tall?
About the Apollo Belvedere,
Is he stout?
of nearly the same dimensions as the gentleman I have just named.
And his figure is?
Quite a model.
And he is?
Myself!
Oh! Oh! Oh no! Pray, don't trouble yourself. I'll find it. Fear me, what? I lost it.
What have you lost, love? I should almost imagine that you'd lost yourself and that our friend Mr. Tapkins here had just found you.
Ah, you always will have your joke. Funny dog, funny dog. Bless my heart and soul, there's that immortal horse standing outside this whole time. He'll catch his death of cold. You must come and see him. Come, come.
No, I can't see him today. I'd forgotten I have letters to write, business to transact. I'm engaged.
Oh. Oh. He's engaged. You know, we'd better not interrupt him.
No. Certainly not. Not by any means.
Goodbye, old fellow.
Oh, goodbye.
Take care of yourself. I'll take care of Mrs. L.
What the deuce does that fellow mean by laying such emphasis on Mrs. L? What's my wife to him? Or he to my wife? Very extraordinary. I can hardly imagine if he had even the treachery to make any advances, she would entertain such a preposterous intrigue. She spoke in his praise at breakfast time, though, and now they have gone to see that confounded horse together. But stop. I must keep a sharp eye on them this afternoon without appearing to do so. I should not appear unnecessarily suspicious for the world. Dissembling in such a case is difficult, very difficult.
Mr. and Mrs. Peter Limbury.
Desire them to walk in. A lucky visit. This furnishes me with a hint. This Mrs. Limbury is a vain, conceited woman, ready to receive the attention of anyone who feigns admiration for her, partly to gratify herself and partly to annoy her jealous little husband, whom she keeps under such strict control. If I pay particular attention to her, I shall lull my wife and that scoundrel Tapkins into a false security and have better opportunities of observation. They are here. Ah, my dear Mrs. Limbury, how charming, how delightful, how divine you look today.
Dear Mrs. Limbury, charming, divine and beautiful. Look, today? Oh, I know how it is. I always thought he paid her too much attention.
Sit down, sit down.
Peter and I called as we passed in our little pony ships to inquire whether we should have the pleasure of seeing you at Tapkins this afternoon.
Is it possible you can ask such a question? Do you think I could stay away?
Dear Mr. Lovetown, how polite. He's quite struck with me.
Wretched miscreant. It's a regular assignation before my very face.
Did you know I entertain some apprehension, some dreadful fears that you might not be there?
Fears we mightn't be there. Well, of course we shall be there.
Now don't talk, Peter.
I just thought it possible, you know, that you might not be agreeable.
Oh, Peter is always agreeable to anything that is agreeable to me. Aren't you, Peter?
Yes, dearest. Agreeable to anything that's agreeable to her. Oh, Lord.
By the by, Mr. Lovetown, how do you like this bonnet?
Oh, beautiful. I must change the subject. Do you know, Mr. Lovetown, that it has frequently occurred to me, and you know, I've often thought that...
Now don't talk, Peter. The colour is so bright, is it not?
Oh, it might appear so elsewhere, but the brightness of those eyes cast it quite into the shade.
I know you are a connoisseur in ladies' dresses. How do you like those shoes?
Shoes? What will she ask his opinion of next?
Well, like the bonnet, you deprive them of their fair chance of admiration. That small, elegant foot engrosses all the attention that the shoes might otherwise attract. That taper ankle, too.
Taper ankle! Oh, my bosom swells with the rage of an ogre! Oh, Mr. Lovetown,
Don't talk so, Limbury. You put Mr. Lovetown out as it is.
Put him out! Oh, I wish I could get him out. Mr. Lovetown, I must...
I beg your pardon, sir, but the bay pony's got its hind leg over the traces and it's kicking the chaise to pieces.
Kicking the new chaise to pieces.
Kicking the new chaise to pieces, the big pony! Limbury, my dear fellow, fly to the spot!
But Mr. Lovetown,
Kick somebody's brains out and Peter, don't go to him.
perhaps he'll kick my brains out if I do go to.
Oh, never mind. Don't lose a moment, not an instant. Now for it. Here's my wife, Mrs. Limbury.
Can I believe my eyes? Mr. Doctor.
Nay, allow me in this one hurried interview which I have sought for in vain for weeks, for months, to say how devotedly, how ardently I love you. No, suffer to retain this hand in mine. Give me one ray of hope.
Rise, I entreat you. We shall be discovered.
Nay, I will not rise until you promise me you will take the opportunity to detach yourself from the rest of the company and meet me alone in Tapkins grounds this evening. I shall have no eyes, no ears for anyone but yourself.
Well, I will, I do.
Well, then I am blessed indeed.
I am so agitated. If Peter, or Mrs. Lovetown, were to find me thus, why should betray all? I'll teach my husband to be jealous. Let us walk round the garden.
Oh, with pleasure. Take my arm, divine creature. I'm sure she's hiding behind the screen. I saw her peeking. Come.
Faithless man! His coldness and neglect are now but too well explained. Oh, Alfred! Alfred! Little did I think when I married you 6 short months since that I should be exposed to so much wretchedness. I begin to tremble as I think of the imprudence of my own and the situation in which it may place me. But it is now too late to recede. I must be firm. This day will either bring my project to the explanation I so much desire, or convince me of my worst fears, my husband's aversion. Can Mrs. Limbury's husband suspect their intimacy? If so, perhaps he can stop their assignation from taking place. I will seek him out instantly. If I can meet with him but once, he may be able to prevent her from going at all.
This certainly is a most extraordinary affair. Not her partiality for me, that's natural enough, but the confession I overheard of her marriage to another. I've been thinking that after such a discovery it would be highly improper to allow Limbury and his wife to meet them without warning him of the fact. The best way will be to make him acquainted with the real state of the case. Then he must see the propriety of not bringing his wife to my house tonight. Oh, here he is. I'll make the awful disclosure at once and petrify him.
That damn little bay pony is as bad as my wife. There's no curbing either of them. As soon as I've got the traces off the one, all right, I lose all traces of the other.
Peter!
Ah, Tapkins.
Hush! Hush! If you have a moment to spare, I have something of great importance to communicate.
Something of great importance, Mr. Tapkins. What can he mean? Can it relate to Mrs. Limbury? The thought is dreadful. You horrify me.
You'll be more horrified presently. What I have to tell you concerns yourself and your honour very materially, and I beg you to understand that I communicate it in the strictest confidence.
Myself and my honour? I shall dissolve into nothing with horrible anticipations.
Have you ever observed anything remarkable about Lovetown's manner?
Nothing remarkable.
Anything very odd and rather unpleasant?
Decidedly, not longer than half an hour ago, in this very room, I observed something particularly off and exceedingly unpleasant.
To your feelings as an husband?
Yes. Yes, my friend, you know it all, I see.
Why? Do you know it?
I'm afraid I do. But go on.
How the deuce can he know anything about it? Well, this oddness arises from the peculiar nature of his connection with... You look very pale.
No, go on now. Connection with...
A certain lady. You know whom I mean?
I do. Disgrace and confusion! Oh, I'll kill her with a look! Wither her with scornful indignation. Mrs. Limbury! Viper!
They aren't married.
They are married? Who are?
Those two, to be sure.
Those two? What two?
Why, them! And the worst of it is, she's married to somebody else.
Oh, well, of course I know that!
You know it.
Why, of course I do. God, how you talk. Isn't she my wife?
Your wife? Wretched bigamist. Mrs. Lovetown, your wife?
Mrs. Lovetown? What, have you been talking about Mrs. Lovetown all this time? Oh, my dear friend. The revulsion of feeling is almost insupportable. Ah, I thought you were talking about Mrs. Limbury.
No!
Yeah. Go on, man. Say, what a dreadful fellow this is. Another man's wife. God, I think he wants to run away with every man's wife he sees. And Mrs. Lovetown, too. Oh, horrid.
Shocking.
I say, I won't allow Mrs. Limbury to associate with her, ought I?
Precisely my idea. You had better induce your wife to stay away from my house tonight.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
What, has she any particular objections to staying away?
She has a very strange inclination to go, and is much the same. However, I'll make the best arrangements I can.
Well, so be it. Of course, I shall see you.
Of course.
Mind the secret. Close, you know, as a cabinet minister answering a question.
You may rely upon me.
It was in search of wonders so high and so low, that the flying phenomenon said he would go, where no mortal man had e'er been before, for he all the world was resolved to explore. Derry down, 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 derry down, with wings made of leather, of steel and of steam, of wonders he said he should sure be the theme, for who in the world could with him compare? As like a great goose he should fly through the air, derry down, 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 derry down. In the morning it was that he first took his flight, and in Greece on a turkey he supped the same night. He dined on his way at Hamburg upon ham, and in Tartary sipped his bohea with the jam, derry down, 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 derry down. He paid him a visit to Venus and Mars, to the sun and the moon and the 7 stars. He shook hands with Saturn, and then I declare that he had him a hug of the very great bear, derry down, 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 derry down. Now, I'm sure that with me, you all will agree that a clever enchapture there never could be. But if what I have said should not be quite right, why, like him I've indulged, but in fancy's flight, derry down, 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 derry down.
So far, so good. My wife has not dropped the slightest hint of having overheard the conversation between me and Mrs. Limbury. Oh, but she cannot conceal the impression it has made on her mind, or the jealousy it has evidently excited in her breast. This is just as I wished. I made Mr. Peter Limbury's amiable helpmate promise to meet me here. I know that refuge for destitute reptiles is Tapkins' favourite haunt, and if he has any assignations with my wife, I have no doubt he will bring her to this place. A woman is coming down the walk. Mrs. Limbury, I suppose. No, my wife! By all that's actionable, I must conceal myself here, even at the risk of a shower of black beetles or a marching regiment of frogs.
I cannot have been mistaken. I am certain I saw Alfred come in here. He must have secreted himself somewhere to avoid me. Can his assignation with Mrs. Limbury have been discovered? Mr. Limbury's behaviour to me just now was strange in the extreme. And after a variety of incoherent expressions, he begs me to meet him here on a matter of great delicacy and importance to myself. Oh, alas, I fear my husband's neglect and coldness are but too well known. Oh, here comes the injured little man now. I summon all my fortitude to bear the disclosure.
Now, as I could not prevail upon Mrs. Limbury to stay away, my only distressing alternative is to inform Mrs. Lovetown that I know her history, and put it to her good feeling whether she hadn't better go.
Limbury? What the deuce can that little wretch want here?
I took the liberty of begging you to meet me in this retired spot, Mrs. Lovetown, because the esteem I shall hold for you, and my regard for your feelings, lead me to prefer a private to a public disclosure.
Public disclosure? What on earth is he talking about? I wish he'd speak a little louder.
I am sensible of your kindness, Mr. Limbury, and believe me, most grateful for it. I am fully prepared to hear what you have to say.
It is hardly necessary for me to say, that is, Mrs. Lovetown, I have accidentally discovered the whole secret.
The whole secret, sir?
The whole secret? What secret?
The whole secret, madam, of this disgraceful, I must call it disgraceful, and most abominable intrigue.
My worst fears are realized. My husband's neglect is occasioned by his love for another.
Abominable intrigue. My first suspicions are too well founded. He reproaches my wife with her infidelity, and she cannot deny it. Oh, that villain Tapkins.
Cruel, cruel Alfred!
You may call him cruel, unfortunate woman. His treatment of you is indefensible, unmanly, scandalous.
It is. It is indeed.
It is very painful for me to express myself in such plain terms, Mrs. Lovetown, but allow me to say, as delicately as possible, that you should not attempt to appear in society under such unusual and distressing circumstances.
Not appear in society? Why should I quit it?
Oh, shameful woman.
Is it possible you could ask such a question?
Where would I go? What would I do?
Gain permission to return once again to your husband's roof.
My husband's roof?
Yes, the roof of your husband, your wretched, unfortunate husband.
Never!
She is thoroughly hardened, steeped in vice beyond all redemption. Mrs. Lovetown, given you reject my well-intentioned advice in this extraordinary manner, it is my painful necessity to express my hope that you... Now, please don't think me unkind. You will never attempt to meet Mrs. Limbury more.
What? Do you suppose I'm so utterly dead to every sense of feeling and propriety as to meet with that person? The destroyer of my peace and happiness? The wretch who's ruined my hopes and blighted my prospects forever? Consult your own feelings. Ask your own heart. You were naturally indignant at her conduct. You would hold no further conversation with her. Do you suppose that I would deign to do so? The mere supposition is an insult.
What can all this mean? I am lost in a maze of astonishment, petrified at the boldness with which you brace it out. Oh, it's breaking on me by degrees. Oh, what did she say? Destroyer of peace and happiness, a person, ruined hopes, blighted prospects. Her! Oh, I see it all. That atrocious Lovetown, that Don Juan, multiplied by 20, that unprecedented libertine, and seduced Mrs. Limbury from her allegiance to her lawful lord and master. Oh, first he runs away with the wife of another man, and no sooner is he tired of her than he runs away with another wife of another man. Oh, I thirst for his destruction. Murderer of domestic happiness! Behold your victim.
Alas, you speak but too truly. I am the victim.
I speak but too truly. He avows his own criminality. Oh, I shall throttle him, I know I shall. I feel it.
My husband, here.
Not here, and our husband with Limbury. I'll reconnoitre.
Lovetown, have you the boldness to look an honest man in the face?
Oh, spare me. I feel the situation which I am placed acutely, deeply. Feel for me when I say that from the conservatory I overheard the greater part of what passed between you and Mrs. Lovetown.
Oh, you did.
Need I say how highly I approve both of the language you used and the advice you gave her?
And you want to get rid of her, do you?
Can you doubt it?
Hello, he wants to get rid of her. Queer.
Situated as I am, you know, I have no other resource after what has passed. I must part from her.
What can he mean?
Should certainly throttle him. Well, not that the coolness with which he refers to the dreadful event paralyses me. Mr. Lovetown, look at me, sir. Consider the feelings of an indignant husband, sir.
Oh, I thank you. Those words prove the strong expressions and the unaffected interest you take in the matter.
Unaffected interest? I shall go raving mad with passion and fury. Villain! Monster! To fail to embrace the opportunities afforded him of being on a footing of friendship.
To take a mean advantage of being a single man.
To tamper with the sacred engagements of a married woman.
To place a married man in a disgraceful and humiliating situation.
Scoundrel! Do you mock me to my face?
Mock you? What do you mean? Who the devil are you talking about?
Talking about?
You? Me?
Designing miscreants, of whom do you speak?
Of whom should I speak but that scoundrel Tapkins?
Me? What the devil could he mean by that?
Ha! Avoid him! Get out of sight! He's raving mad with conscious villainy.
What are you all playing an I Spy Eye over my 2 acres of Infinite for?
How dare you tamper with the affections of Mrs. Lovetown?
Oh, is that all? Ha! Ha!
All?
Oh, come, none of your nonsense.
Nonsense! Designate the best feelings of our conscience. Nonsense!
Oh, pooh, here. I know all about it.
And so do I, sir, and so do I.
Yeah, of course you do. And you've managed very well to keep it quiet so long. But you're a deep fellow, by Jove. You're a deep fellow.
Now mind, I restrain myself sufficiently to ask you once again before I knock you down. How dare you, why what right dare you tamper with the affections of Mrs. Lovetown?
Right? Why, if you come to strict right, why, you know no one has a right but her husband.
And who is her husband? Who is her husband?
Ah, to be sure. That's the question. Nobody that I know, I hope, poor fellow.
Oh, I bear these insults no longer.
Something singular among the plants. A flower that would not come out of its own accord. I was obliged to force it. Tolerable full blow now, at all events.
My wife? Traitress! Fly from my presence, quit my sight! Retire to the conservatory with that demon in a frock coat!
Hello, somebody else.
My wife here.
I owe you some return for the commiseration you expressed just now at my wretched situation. The only one I can make you is to entreat you to refrain from committing any rash act, however excited you may be, and to control your feelings of an injured husband.
Injured husband. Decidedly singular.
The allusion of that lady, I confess my utter inability to understand. Mr. Limbury, to you an explanation is due, and I make it more cheerfully, for my abstaining from doing so may involve the character of your wife. Stung by the attentions I found my wife had received from a scoundrel present,
That's me.
I, partly to obtain the chance of viewing her more closely, and partly in the hope of awaking any dormant feelings of affection that may still slumber in her breast, affected a passion for your wife, which I never felt and to which she never really responded. The second part of my project, I regret to say, has failed. The first has succeeded but too well.
Can I believe my ears? How came Mrs. Peter Limbury to receive these attentions?
Well, not because I liked them, of course, but to assist Mr. Lovetown in his project and teach you the misery of those jealous little fears. Oh, come here, you stupid little jealous, insinuating darling.
It strikes me very forcibly that I have made a slight mistake here, which is something particularly singular.
Alfred, hear me. I am as innocent as yourself. Your fancied neglect and coldness hurt my weak vanity and roused some foolish feelings of angry pride. In a moment of irritation, I did resort to some such retaliations as you yourself have mentioned. But that I did so with motives as guiltless as your own, I call heaven to witness. But that I repent my fault, I solemnly assure you.
Is this possible?
Very possible indeed. Believe your wife's assurance. My corroboration. Here, give and take is all fair, you know. Give me your hand, and take your wife's. Here, Mr. and Mrs. L. Double L. I call them small italic and Roman capital. Here. It's all arranged. The key to the old man is that I have been mistaken, which is something singular. If I have made another mistake in calculating on your kind and lenient reception of our last half-hour's misunderstanding, I shall have done something more singular still. Do you forbid me committing any more mistakes? Or may I announce my intention of doing something singular again?